Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another live this morning. Hope you're having a great start to your day. We sure appreciate all our friends and folks that come on and watch us live. And then, of course, we sure appreciate all the downloads of the podcast the doctor is in. Brahim, you're number one this morning. And Sonia from Kitchener. Good morning to you. Rosalinda from the Kidneys of Canada, and Andrea too. Niagara Falls, Nativity. Good morning. Mary. Our dear friends, Mike from Norland. Good to have you on. Yeah. And Nick from our staff. And Anne from Moncton, New Brunswick. Leela, good morning. And Wendy from Markham, and Madeleine, Kipawa, Quebec, Jeanette, bonjour from our staff, Yolande, bonjour, and Linda from Pennsylvania, Doc McEwen from New Liskeard with her mom, Norma, Carrie from Nebraska, Bev, good morning, Nina, how are you? Sandy, Chilliwack, British Columbia. Karen, how is you? Thunder Bay, Diane. Barbara, Cape Breton. And Lori, Cambridge. And Nellie, I think I said hi, didn't I, Nellie? Carol, West Virginia, good morning. Judy, New Brunswick. Janice. Janice is checking in. Victoria, good morning. Brenda, how is you? Vera, Newfoundland. And Karen, Peterborough. Donna, Park Hill. And Michelle, Elmsville. And Frances Marie, Ashley, good morning to you. And Luke, Moncton, New Brunswick. And Arlene, good morning. Peggy, Fran, Orangeville. And Sophia from Mexico. Sandy, Washington State. Mary, P.E.I. Cecilia, Sudbury. Never heard of it. Where is that? Karina, good morning. Gertie, good morning. Joss. And Connie, Teresa, good morning. Okay, let's get going, guys. Debbie, Sturgeon Falls. Irene, good morning. And Olga, Port Elgin, New Brunswick. And one went up, I can't see it. Okay, better get going because Rhonda's there. And Suzanne and Daniel. Guys, how are you? Okay? Some of you are invisible. Hot, is it Margie? Hot Kansas? Yeah. Lori Lee, good morning. Okay. Now, I was asked a question years ago. Okay? I was asked a question years ago by a Dr. Fishman, okay, who is teaching a course on hormones, okay? And I was taking a course down in Florida, this is years ago, guys, on hormones, always learning, always studying. Better never stop that because you learn something new every day, okay? Now, he asked a question. When he first started the course, I guess there was maybe 100 of us or more doctors of all kinds. And he asked the question, he said, who won World War II? And somebody put their hand up pretty quickly, as you can imagine, and said, well, we did. The Americans, Canadians, the Allies, we won. He said, no, you didn't win. He said, the Nazis won. And I never forgot what he said there, okay? He said, okay, and I'm quoting him, okay, so don't come after me. I'm quoting Dr. Fishman, who is a PhD in pharmacology and really one of the fathers of bioidentical hormones therapy. And he said, no, the Nazis won. And I, what? What are you talking about? Well, what he meant and what he did tell us is that the Nazis started all the pharmaceutical companies. And they came over, and even though he was a PhD in pharmacology, he said, we're killing people left and right. And we're still killing people with our drugs. Okay, now, that was his statement, okay? And the reason I bring it up, okay, the reason I bring it up, because I was reading again yesterday a new study, here it is, okay, on Ozempic, okay? Ozempic and Wegovy. I think I pronounced them right. They are two weight loss. They're not weight loss medications. They're using them for weight loss. They were actually diabetic medications that are used off-label now as sort of, how can I describe them? Medications that have become famous for weight loss. Okay? Wegovy, Ozempic. And a new study out that I read yesterday on them. Now we're starting to get, because they're sort of Hollywood, started in Hollywood. How can we lose weight? And let's do it on a crash course type of thing. And they became like off-label giants for losing weight. And now we're starting to find out, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. Did they work? Yep, they work. So you can imagine tugging at the heartstrings of people who have struggled losing weight. You tug at their heartstrings. The problem is they've never been studied. They've been studied for diabetes, but they were never studied for people taking them for weight loss. And now, you know what they're finding? Major side effects that don't go away. And this one is, it says, Ozempic and Wegovy can have here's the article I saw it in CNN News, okay, cnnnews.com, and it said they can have significant downsides like stomach paralysis. What? Stomach paralysis. Even after you stop taking the meds, okay, you can have side effects down the road like stomach paralysis that never goes away, according to the article. Okay? And that brought me back to Dr. Fishman, who shocked us on day one of the course with that statement. And he's a pharmacist. He taught pharmacology. And he said, look, drugs can save your life, but they can kill you too. They can kill you too. And the side effects. And what he went on to say in that course, and that was, like I said, got to be 10 years ago, more than that I took that course from him. But he said the iatrogenic. You know what that means? That means the self or medical induced sickness or injury is iatrogenic. He said it's killing, hundreds of thousands and maiming hundreds of thousands of people every year. I'm just quoting him. And he said people don't realize the side effects of these things. And we're not teaching them. For example, on these 2 weight loss products, I've been talking to you about why I don't like them. They're not getting at the root problem at all. And here's a fact. The second you stop those drugs, generally, you gain all that weight back. It's just like, you remember, I did for some of you remember, I actually talk about this in my new book, Sun, Steak, and Steel. That in 2016, they stopped that program. It was a very successful one called The Biggest Loser. You remember that? And, for months, they would have these people who were, morbidly obese, and they would work them out and starve them, like just about literally, to death. Like it was, it works. It works. If you don't eat and you move, it works. Almost invariably, you're going to lose weight. However, it's looking for love in all the wrong places. Like these medications, they do something to your appetite. You're not hungry. Therefore, you cut back on eating. But it's temporary at best. And of course, they didn't tell you, and they might not have known, I don't know, the boatload of problems. When you get a medication that you don't feel like eating, well, yeah, okay. I used to say this about gastric bypass too. Okay? It sort of became a Hollywood thing, and gastric bypass surgery. There was clinics all over the place. And isn't it something? We're just gonna staple the stomach or reverse it. Yeah, I was screaming blue murder about that. I was. Because I've always, and I think you guys would agree with me, I've been pretty consistent over the years talking about it's not eat less and move more. If that was successful, we would have tackled weight loss a long time ago. I've always talked about the importance of fuel. It's what you eat. It's not how much you eat. It's not. Short term, yeah, you don't eat. Like people like the idea of fasting. I'm not against it. You know that. But you're not going to fast and, never eat. So, somebody says, well, Doc, I only eat once a day. Well, good for you. I like that. That's fine if you can do it. Okay? I got no problem with that. But that's not the key. It's not the key. It's not the key. See, I don't like putting the cart before the horse. The key is eating the right food. The food that your body was meant to eat. When you do that, you're going to get healthy. And if you get healthy, okay, your body will lose the weight. But don't put the weight loss first and your health second, because that's what these medications do. Medications, like, it's a shortcut, but it's short-term success and long-term disaster. And I said it with even surgery, stomach surgery. It's short-term. But what about long-term? What happens to these people? You play around with your anatomy and you're not absorbing anymore. You're not absorbing your vitamins properly. You play around with your stomach. I talked to you yesterday about the importance of your stomach acidity. You play around with that stomach, and then, you're not a chance that you're going to be absorbing B12. Not a chance. And your fat-soluble vitamins that are absolutely essential for your well-being, I don't care. You're not absorbing them properly. And you don't, even on these medications. And guys, I've been consistent about that. So, am I compassionate? You better believe it. You bet your boots. You can't be in practice. As long as I was in practice, I had a weight loss clinic, guys. But it was based on nutrients. People are surrounded by food. We've never had a world like it is now, right? Especially in North America. We're surrounded. It's, go in almost any downtown in North America. Everybody's screaming about this, okay? For example, in my hometown, okay, now I live in Sudbury, but I used to live in Timmins, okay? You know where Timmins is? There's Santa Claus, and then there's Timmins, okay? We're just a little bit south of the North Pole, okay? But there, they were screaming to city council about the downtown. What's happening? All just about, guys, and look, I'm very, very, very sympathetic, okay? So don't come after me about this. What's happening? The homeless. Why are they homeless? 99.9%. They're drug addicts. And they're everywhere now in North America. And they seem to congregate. True or false? In the downtowns. Right? And the problem is, okay? The problem is it's they're we live in a world where we have very little solutions. Okay? Very little solutions. And because we look at the problem the wrong way. Okay? And we give them, safe sites to inject even more drugs. And it's safe. Well, who is it safe for? And guys, this is like these meds. Like you're giving to an addict. My name is Tony, and I'm a carbaholic. When you see someone that struggles with weight, they're carbaholics. And what do? We surround them, we lie to them, we tell them that you can't live without carbs. And the grocery stores are 90% carbs. And we've made it almost where you can't even afford. Carbs are cheap. Crappy carbs are cheap compared to produce, eggs, meat, and cheese. Is that true or is it false? That's true. You don't surround an addict like a drug addict, but drugs, in my opinion. But with food, I mean, almost everything is a fast food. Breaks down so quickly, turns to sugar in nanoseconds. Cereal, muffins and bagels and pastries and sweets and milk and juices. And we surround people with that, and we wonder why we got a big problem. So what do we do with a big problem? The pharmaceutical industry, coming back to my first point, they want to be involved. There's money to be had. And they say, hey, we found something like a weight loss drug. Hey, we were using it for diabetes. And guys, you know what I think about diabetic drugs. You don't get type 2 adult onset sugar. That's what it used to be called. Sugar diabetes. You don't get sugar diabetes because you don't have medication. You get sugar diabetes because you live on sugar. That's how you get diabetes. True or false? It's true. And Doc, well, how many people used to come into my office and say, Doc, I don't eat a lot of sugar. I said, do you eat bread? Oh, yeah, I like bread. I said, well, that's sugar. Do you eat cereal? Yeah, of course. I got to have my fiber in the morning. Yeah, well, that's sugar, honey. What? How come nobody ever told me that? Well, I said it turns to sugar in 5 seconds. And I said, you have an allergy to the food you're eating. That's what causes sugar diabetes. What? Yeah. How come nobody ever told me that? Because the Nazis won the war. They did. So the pharmaceutical companies, and they do some good things, but they come out with, and the thing is, it becomes the narrative. Okay, so listen to what I'm saying. It becomes the narrative. You to go knock on doors, knock, 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 go right throughout your hometown, do a survey if you want. Okay? And you'll find out that people don't know anything about food. Not really. They don't. They know about calories. Somebody came on our private Facebook group yesterday that were new to us. And they said, well, when Dr. Martin talks about eggs, meat, and cheese, how many calories is that? I don't care. It doesn't matter. Calories came from the food industry. Calories came from eat less, but eat in moderation. From the dietitians, eat less. Fatso. That's what they were saying. Eat less, fatso, and move more. And we had a whole generation of physicians looking at people that were gaining weight. And they go, well, hey, fatso, eat less and move more. Okay. That's what they did with The Biggest Loser. And by the way, you can actually look this up on one of our podcasts. I brought up what happened to the Biggest Losers. Those stars of, live TV. Remember that? What happened to those people? Well, they all gained their weight back. Every one of them. And to me, I was saying, hello, what did you expect? You didn't teach them. You taught them that it was calories in and calories out. I mean, there was weight loss clinics like Dr. Bernstein, okay? I don't think it's as popular as it used to be, but it was very popular. I had hundreds of people come to see me, and they had gone to Dr. Bernstein's weight loss clinics. And I knew what their success rate was. Temporarily, man, you couldn't beat it. 600 calories, that's starvation. And one thing he did right is he gave you B12 shots. Right? And B12 is important. And Dr. Bernstein understood that. And he gave you B12 shots for your metabolism. And I love B12. You guys know that. It's one of my superstar vitamins that most people are very low in because they don't eat steak. When you eat the right foods and you change fuels, I go right back to your battery packs in your body. I go to the battery packs. What are your batteries? What's going to charge them? Carbs? Bread, pasta, rice, cereals, sugar, sweets, pastries, juice, milk? No. It's going to give your battery a charge for about 5 seconds. And then you're going to need to recharge it again. Because those fuels burn like that. In, out, in, out. And your battery packs, from your brain to your toes, your mitochondria, they're getting the wrong fuel. And you're starving. Like I said, you're surrounded by food. You're surrounded. You go to the grocery store, there's over 30,000 items in there. And 90-something% of them are fast foods, devoid of nutrients. Your mitochondria, they burn it too quickly. So my idea was getting you on the right fuel first. Getting your body the nutrients it needed first. Guys, I know you look at me and you go, that guy's crazy. I know I look crazy. But I had a method to my madness. I was trying to change the fuel. I was bound and determined in my practice to get people to understand that their body needed nutrients. Nutrient-dense food to satisfy the battery packs. And I use these illustrations in my office all the time. I said, okay, you're a log cabin. What? Yeah, pretend. You're a log cabin. Okay. When you heat a log cabin, yeah, you got a wood stove. True? Yes. Okay. What do you put in it? You want it to last. Do you put paper and twigs or logs? Oh, you just use paper and twigs a little wee bit to get the fire started, but you use a log. I said, yeah, that's your body. Your body is striving for logs. It wants logs on the fire. I said, I'm going to give you another illustration. I'm a simple man. Okay? Go to your airport. I like watching planes land and take off. Don't you? I never get tired of that. It's always amazing to me. I remember as a kid, my dad used to drive us out to the airport. And we'd watch a plane come in. Okay, I lived in the days of Noah. Okay? But go to the airport and watch them fuel up an airplane, the jets. Okay? Do they use 87 octane that you put in your car? What do you do when you go to your car and you fill up your car? Okay, today you got to fill it up yourself, right? Again, I tell my grandchildren, you know what? You used to go to the gas station when I was a kid. You always had a gas attendant. But not anymore. You do it yourself. You see women out there. Never saw that when I was a kid. A woman filling up her car. Never saw that. But today, everybody fills up their own car, right? And you can't talk to anyone. You got to put your card in and you can hardly move. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What kind of fuel do you put in a jet? The same fuel you put in your car? 87 octane? No. You put jet fuel. It's 99% octane. That's eggs, meat, and cheese. If you want your body to run on turbo, there's no magic, guys. It's not magic. Turbo is eggs. Dr. Martin, what about cholesterol? Yeah, you need it. The best fuel is eggs, meat, and cheese. Dairy. Dairy minus the cow's milk that's in the grocery store. You got a cow in the backyard, you can drink milk too. I'm telling you, guys. So when I read Ozempic and Wegovy can have significant downsides. Significant downsides like stomach paralysis. Who knew? Who knew? Doc, I lost weight, but now my stomach don't work anymore. Oh, gee, hey, wasn't it worth it? But that's, my friend, you want to know when I get excited? Is when I see nonsense like that. I get excited in the wrong way. I actually get angry. Because people get duped. And they think there's shortcuts to weight loss. I'm going to take a shortcut. There's magic in those pills. Not really. It's magic, all right, but you're going to pay a huge price. There's no magic, guys. Every day, you got to make choices. Every day. It's one of the worst addictions that I can think of. You know, I feel sorry for addicts. I really do. Okay? I really do. I was in, as a volunteer, a prison ministry for years. And 90s, it changed around the 80s and in that almost everybody incarcerated, almost, not all, but almost, were all drug addicts. They'd steal from their grandmother. They'd steal from their grandmother. They didn't care. They needed to get their fix, man. They needed money for their drugs. And all they could think of was their next fix. And they ended up in jail for it. I'm not kidding you. And then today, we got food and a food industry that doesn't care about your health. If you can get that, that is a huge point. They don't care about your health. And then you have a pharmaceutical industry that knows nothing about food. And you put those two babies together and you have disaster. And that's what I teach. And I would teach my patients to understand nutrients, to understand as much as they could food, what goes in, and understand, okay? Understand the wood stove theory and the jet theory of fuel. You better start there for health and then weight loss. So people have asked me 1,000 times, Doc, I want to do the reset because I want to lose weight. I said, well, okay, it was never meant for that primarily because the weight loss program is secondary, because what I'm trying to do is lower your insulin response. That's the key to the reset. It's lowering insulin. And the beneficiary of that will be weight loss. because your body will be burning the right fuel. And you won't be hungry. And it will do a lot of good things. And I'm telling you guys, the more and more and more and more we go along, and tens of thousands of you have done the reset, tens of thousands, it's true. And the truth shall set you free. Ooh, I get so uptight. Okay. Guys, okay. Now, you got your questions ready for Friday? Okay. That's question number 1. You have your questions ready for Friday? 2, are you part of our private Facebook group? Asking the question. 3, have you got our new book, Sun, Steak, and Steel, and Sleep? Got that yet? Okay. Questions. Do you get our newsletters via email? Question. Okay. Do I love you guys? Question. You know the answer to that. Talk to you soon.